Hi, everyone, and welcome to the show. On Chawk-N-Talk today, we're wrapping up the preparation of the home as we are preparing our hearts for Christmas. I'm the Chicken Hawk, and if you've made it with me this far, a sincere thank you. I hope that this series is serving you well and you are truly preparing your heart for the best Christmas ever. So it's day 7, and let's get rolling. You know, as we wrap up preparing the home for Christmas, I want to focus on the home itself. The home is the place that we live. It's the place that we go out from and we come back to pretty much every day. It's the place that we are usually the most comfortable with, unless there are problems there too. I don't know about you, but I think home problems are sometimes the problems that we want to deal with the least. These are the problems that we, sweep under the rug, okay? And because you don't really want other people to know that you're having problems at home. And one other thing I think is, I think sometimes that we're so tired because we deal with so many problems, either at work or when we're outside of the home or somewhere else, that when we get home, we just want to rest. And if we have to deal with a problem at home, we're afraid, you know what, I'm just going to make it a bigger problem than it already is. And when that happens, I'm really not going to get my rest. So, maybe today is going to be a difficult day for this discussion. But let's go ahead and ask the questions that we need to ask. Let's try to figure out a plan, maybe to how to deal with those things or resolve them. And if we can get those things resolved, then maybe, just maybe, our home is going to be a little bit happier place to be. And we will be much better prepared to celebrate Jesus. So, I'd like to do things a little bit differently this week, or today, not this week. Instead of having a big long discussion and then asking challenge questions, we're just going to jump right into the challenge questions and then have a discussion. A little bit different, mixing it up. Okay. The first thing I'm going to do, though, is your challenge is to maybe write some of this down. Okay, here's challenge point number 1. What are the problems at home? Or at least the ones you're dealing with. Now, don't be shy here. Big and small, write them all. Okay? Maybe the second question we need to ask is who or what might be causing the problems? Now, before you go pointing that finger at somebody else, you might want to consider, is it somebody else or is it moi? Could it be a combination of the two? Or is it just simply a circumstance? Maybe you're not having a problem with anybody. Maybe it's just something that's happening. Okay? Because, I think a lot of times we miss the point when we just go off and start blaming people or things, right? And we don't take a serious look at what the problem is and where it's coming from. And that's why I'm looking at the first 2 questions like that. All right. And it's important to write those things down. All right. Next, how much time am I spending just thinking about the problem? Okay. And I'm not necessarily talking about thinking about solutions to the problem. It could be, are you just ramped up in your brain about all the possible scenarios that could happen, that could go wrong? And it's just feeding this anxiety or frustration or even anger in our brains, okay? And sometimes when we actually start dealing with the problem, we find out that it was either an easy fix or our perception of the problem was just so far off of reality that we were just messed up. Okay? We just got to realize what the reality of the problem is. All right? The next question I might ask is, what effect does this problem have on me and also my family? Because we're talking about preparing the whole home here. So if you're having a problem and it's you, then it's probably affecting other people in your house, right? We got to realize this is affecting people, and that is significant, especially when our end goal here is to worship Jesus Christ. Because sometimes we just don't realize when our problems are affecting our home life. And I think the final question we should ask, and we're writing this stuff down, is what are some possible solutions? Okay, these solutions really should be about you and not others. You can't fix others most of the time, right? They got to work on it themselves. They got to, they got to come to their own realizations. But what we can fix is our own hearts. Remember, we're working on fixing this. Okay, some discussion points here. All right, I want to talk about this writing things down. I think this is important. If you have a journal, I'm not going to call it a diary because hopefully some dudes are watching this too. Okay, but write things down. This isn't something that you necessarily want to share. This should be for you. Okay, this can help you focus on the problems that you're having. And when you read it back to yourself, you might just realize exactly what you're dealing with. So if you go back through and read through all 5 of those questions that we asked, you might be able to get some grip on the reality of the situation. Okay, it may be easier for you to deal with the problems. All right, the second thing that we need to add to that is when we write things down, we need to be honest with ourselves. Okay, we also do need to be honest with others, but remember, this part of the task is about you. Okay, so be honest with yourself. If you're the problem, you need to admit it. Okay, you need to see it and then you need to admit it. And then when you've done that, when you've written it down, when you've written it down and you're honest with yourself, then don't be afraid to talk to somebody you trust about this. You can even ask them for help. If this is a good friend, great. If you're having trouble with this step, you might seek out your local pastor or someone at church that you trust. That's the key point here. All right, the reason that it needs to be someone you trust is because when you ask someone for advice, right, you want to be able to listen to it. If you don't trust them, this is really going nowhere. Okay, and by the way, talking to someone you can trust who's going to keep this information to themselves, it can help you a lot. And inside of all 3 of these things, you need to be wise. All right, wisdom is going to be your friend here. What I mean is that if you're dealing with a problem that involves other people, they might not be ready to deal with it. They might not even know that there is a problem. You might think there is a problem when there isn't one at all. All right, to have wisdom is to be able to ask questions to other people so they don't feel like you're putting some kind of blame on them. And you might want to think about the way that you ask the questions so that it's not offensive. And that's where that trusted person can help. Okay? If you're dealing with a problem that doesn't involve other people, then know your limits. You're human, and sometimes there's just only so much you can do. Remember, this whole process is about preparing your heart to worship God. Okay? What I'm not asking you to do is fix or prepare other people's heart. One thing that you definitely want to avoid during this time of year is making problems worse right before the celebration. Be kind, be gentle. Also, be willing to apologize if you figure out that you're the problem. One of the best Christmas gifts can be the reconciliation of a friendship or a family relationship. Whew. Well, that was tough, and thanks for hanging in there with me. Please feel free to let me know how it's going. Yes, you are welcome to tell me that I'm a jerk in the comment section below. I just have a couple of things. Please keep it clean. All right, and please be nice and polite. I want this to be a channel for everyone. Well, with all of that being said, blessings to you all. I hope to see you tomorrow. And this is the Chicken Hawk signing off.